You've heard a lot about the Dallas hospital that treated Thomas Eric Duncan, the first Ebola patient diagnosed in America. But you've never heard what actually happened from the people who fought for his life at the risk of their own. You're about to meet 4 nurses who treated Duncan from the time he came into the emergency room to the moment that he died. The staff had been blindsided by a biomedical emergency that burst into their ER like a wildfire. They were working 16 to 18-hour days, spending 2 hours at a time in Duncan's room.
And we held his hand and talked to him and comforted him because his family couldn't be there.
You held his hand through the spacesuit.
I did. He was glad someone wasn't afraid to take care of him. Yeah. And we weren't.
I have nothing but respect and admiration for everyone that was involved in his care. You know, everyone has someone in their lives that they love and they care about. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and my wife is pregnant, and the mortality rate for pregnant women with Ebola is essentially 100%.
But Richard, why don't you go to the administration and say, you know, I'm sorry, but my wife is pregnant?
Everyone volunteered.
Everyone was a volunteer.
Every person, housekeeping, respiratory, physicians, nurses.
But despite all the volunteers, Duncan grew worse. An experimental drug wasn't helping.
Early Saturday morning, he had become very critically ill and was placed on a respirator.
He was intubated.
He was intubated.
Tube down his throat.
Tube down his throat. He had a dialysis catheter placed because he was not making the urine that he needed to, and so I was in charge on those 2 days. And came back on October 8th and was the primary nurse again. He was heavily sedated, and he had tears rolling down his eyes, rolling down his face, and not just a normal watering from a sedated person. This was in the form of tears. And I grabbed a tissue, and I wiped his eyes, and I said, "You're going to be okay. You just get the rest that you need. Let us do the rest for you." And it wasn't 15 minutes later, I couldn't find a pulse. And I lost him. And it was the worst day of my life. This man that we cared for, that fought just as hard with us, lost his fight. And his family couldn't be there. And we were the last 3 people to see him alive. And I was the last one to leave the room. And I held him in my arms. He was alone.